Welcome to the south of France. Welcome to Circuit Paul Ricard at Le Castellet. We're in a beautiful part of the world and picked a fantastic weekend for weather as well. Back for another season is the Ligier European Series with a cracking calendar laid out in front of us. And they're racing on their homeland, if you like, in France this weekend to kick things off. There will be a total of 12 races through the course of 2022. And there's a great indication of exactly where we are this weekend. My name's Johnny Palmer. I'm joined by the editor of dailysportscar.com, Graham Goodwin. And great weekend for racing, not least because of the weather, but also some cracking cars to be enjoyed in this series that goes into a third season.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everybody. And 20 cars for the season entry this year, with more we expect through the season and significantly more for the races we'll talk about, I'm sure, a little later in the broadcast, Johnny. The new addition to the Ligier European Series, the support races for the Le Mans 24 hours. But for now, we're going to enjoy, 22 degrees of sunshine outside, 28 degrees on track. The weather's been getting better and better through this week. It was pretty cold for testing for the European Le Mans Series earlier this week, but it's got into the 20s and heading northwards for the remainder of this weekend.
Nathan Biel, who it was last year's champion in the JS2R category, is back once again, but he changes division, and we now see him in the JSP4 part of the race. Remember, JSP4s are the prototype-derived cars from Ligier, and then the JS2Rs that look a little bit like a GT car, although there's no road-going counterpart yet. Who knows what the future may bring. But 11 cars in the JS2R division with a number of new names and teams to conjure with. 2 qualifying sessions that took place yesterday. There was also 2 free practice sessions as well, which is a slight adjustment to last year. And I think someone to be looking out for throughout the course of the season will be young Herlion, who will be starting from pole position in both of the races. So keep an eye out for Julien Herlion, the young Frenchman, silver rated for Polish squad Team Virage. Working our way further back, Dimitri Engelbert will start the Pegasus Racing Car 17. LR Motorsport and Simone Riccitelli will start from 3rd position in car number 3. And Jacopo Faccioni, who was joint champion last year with outgoing driver Alessandro Ciccognani. So he's not back for 2022, but Faccioni very much is and has qualified the car in 4th place. In the JS2R division, it is Haitham Karajouli of Kuwait, although he's been racing in the UK in the last couple of years, certainly in 2019. RLRM Sport starts from pole position then alongside the CTF performance car of Fabien Delaplace, who's another returnee, as is Cedric Ultramare, alongside the Spaniard for Swiss squad Cool Racing number 4, Nicolas Barrault, Laurent Millara. These are all familiar names from the Ligier European Series from 2021.
Yep, a mix of brand new teams with brand new cars. Both these cars, by the way, the JSP4 and the JS2R with evolution versions. We'll get to that as we get into the action later in the broadcast too, Johnny. But returning teams, new teams, people coming back after a year.
All cars to grid positions immediately. We want to see 2 lines of cars. All cars to grid positions immediately.
And a lot of Freitas in race control. They're getting things under control.
Please close the gaps.
Yes, so Eduardo looking after presumably both races today, the first of which about to kick off. The one later on is a 3 o'clock start to mark your card, but you'll want to be staying tuned to all of the streams for the various championships this weekend. This race basically provides the lowest rung on the ladder if you then want to progress in the other championships on display this weekend at Le Castellet, i.e. the Michelin Le Mans Cup and the European Le Mans Series, and a terrific platform it does provide, whether you are targeting prototype racing in the future with Ligier or indeed moving up through the GT ranks in forthcoming years. A superb backdrop as usual here at Le Castellet, and the unique end to the lap provides a really tight finish. That's a tricky right-hander at Virage du Lac. They will go on to the long straight here to be presented by red lights that immediately are extinguished, and for a brand new season, the 2022 Ligier European Series gets underway with a good start from Julien Julien Herion, although he's having to go into full defensive mode and really struggle to get the car stopped into the first chicane. Losing places, the Team Virage car in the yellow and orange colours, down to third, but soon perhaps to be second again, Graham.
Great stuff there into turn 2, and it was the Team Virage car rather caught out, a little bit too much straight line speed, missed his braking point, but did very well indeed to bring that car back under control, Johnny. So
it's Jacopo Faccioni, remember that name from last year, HB Racing by Euro International this season. He will lose out on the lead to Dimitri Engelbert, who's wasting no time at all at the moment in the blue and white colours of Pegasus Racing. So Pegasus leads HB Racing and Team Virage, trying to recover the situation for 19-year-old Julien Herion, who's provided really good lap times through the course of the weekend so far, topped both free practice sessions and indeed the qualifying. But another change of lead. How many's that now? About 3 in the space of 5 corners, and Engelbert's not going to take that lying down either. But Jacopo Faccioni back to the sharp end in the all-black HB Racing by Euro International car, Graham.
Absolutely great stuff down the Mistral Straight. These cars with more power this year. That's one of the changes. Bit of trouble there by the look of it for one of the JS2Rs. And well off the circuit and into one of the gravel traps and through, thankfully, one of the gravel traps for the trailing car there. That, I think, is the other Pegasus car, the 29 car.
And, yeah, the various incidents at turn 1 will be looked at again by race control just to see whether there was any untoward problems that need to be readdressed, but let's hope not. Turn 7, the JS2R was in the gravel. I didn't even know there was a gravel trap on the outside of the, or the inside of the track, technically there, coming out of turn 7 and onto the Mistral properly. But everybody else being warned that there may well be now some gravel on the exit of that corner, and grip levels particularly low. So the duelling on the first lap began almost instantly. And Dimitri Engelbert, actually, this was towards the end of the lap, isn't it? And Engelbert leading,
yep.
Indeed, yeah. So sweeping around the outside of Jacopo Faccioni to retake the lead for Pegasus Racing, and quite a lead it is now, up to half a second over Faccioni, Julien Herion, and Simone Riccitelli.
It's a new leader as well, and it's a debuting team with RLRM Sports, present in the LMS, in the Michelin Le Mans Cup and in the Ligier European Series this season, with a pair of cars. And it's our Kuwaiti driver who's to the lead in JS2R, Johnny, 10th overall, the number 75 car, and with a significant lead over Laurent Molara as well.
Yeah, Caragiuli, mightily experienced in, well, slower cars, frankly, but getting used to the GT-derived JS2R and building a tidy lead over Laurent Molara, who is much experienced. Now, there is a pit stop window in this race, which will kick in at 27 minutes past, or 27 minutes into the race, and with it starting at 10 to 11, that will require some further calculation. However, we are well out of the pit stop window, and an early stop, sadly, for David Cosalel, who was the car that was off at the gravel at turn 7. A
bit of rush there between the number 4 and the number 11 car. I think you're going to see that Pegasus Racing 29 car out of the race.
Yeah.
Went through the gravel trap. I think a bit of steering input there may have broken. Well, the steering on that car.
As soon as the car went up on the jacks, the front right wheel pinged out at a ridiculous angle.
Just flopped.
So I think the steering arm's either severely bent or completely sheared.
Yeah.
And you ain't going to go much further around Paul Ricard without the ability to steer the car. So that will be probably end of race and get it sorted for 3 o'clock this afternoon for race 2. At least there are 2 events in the calendar, as there will be all year at each of the tracks we go to. Dimitri Engelbert crosses the line, building his lead nicely, because the scrap is on for second and third between Jacopo Faccioni and a recovering Julien Herion in the colours of Team Virage.
Yeah, that's the battle now, isn't it? Engelbert seems to have got his head down. He's got the gap. It's about 2 seconds as they cross the line, Johnny, to start lap 3. But it's not 2 seconds with this trio. Battling trio in the JS2R category, including Hurst Felix Felbermeyer, the 3rd generation of Hurst Felbermeyers in racing. His father, previously known as Hurst Felbermeyer Jr., we'll see later in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, but the famous family colours do look great on this JS2R, but he's about, I think, to lose a place.
Yeah, and those cars swamping him a little bit. Now that, I reckon, is the 95 from CTF Performance, so that will squeeze up the inside. Nicolas Barrault on a solo drive this weekend. Barrault did have a co-driver for some of last year, but deciding to do both stints in each of the races today. Fabien Delaplace and Piquet are sharing the 96 car, which is in the black and white colours, so very different paint scheme, but same French squad for CTF Performance.
Yeah, that's 2 places lost, I'm afraid, for Felbermayr. There's another of the JS2Rs on pit road. 17 car. That is the JSP4 Pegasus Racing getting away here, and getting away pretty quickly.
Down towards the end of the Mistral and senior corner, then goes the CTF Performance versus the Felbermayr car. This is for 12th, 13th and 14th positions then in the overall spots, that is. But battle for 12th, as I say.
We'll see much better lap times this year. Both classes, 30 horsepower more for the JS2R. Both cars, by the way, the JS2R and the JSP4, featuring the same 3.7 litre Ford-based V6. In JSP4 form, this car, 55 horsepower more this year. That's a significant chunk, up to 385 horsepower. The JS2R, meanwhile, is going to new brakes, by the way, too, for the JSP4 to match up to the increased performance. You can see there where the gap is coming out. Faccioni really under pressure now.
Yeah, and not too far away in 4th position. It's livening up as well. So second, third and 4th right together. But across the line, the significant lead for Haytham Caragiuli out front from the scrapping CTF Performance cars. And Simone Riccitelli, 4th position then in the JSP4 division. Valori's not that far away either in the 23 car. But first, big gap, then back to 2nd, 3rd and 4th in the JSP4 division. And it's sort of the same in the top class, in the JSP4s, because there are now definitely 3 cars scrapping it out for 2nd, 3rd and 4th overall. Jacopo Faccioni for HB Racing, Julien Herrion and Simone Riccitelli in that dark metallic blue with the orange. The paint scheme looks fabulous on that car for LR Motorsport. And 2nd, 3rd and 4th right together as they head out of the double right-hander at Beausset, and now towards the end of the lap. So Virage du Pont, Virage du Lac to come next, with the left-hander into the right-hander and back across the stripe. Dimitri Engelbert for Pegasus Racing, though, his lead is now up to over 4 seconds.
Yeah, he's beginning to stretch his legs here, isn't he? Faccioni still fighting off Henrion for 2nd place, but that's a very tight gap indeed. And here we've got the pair of JS2Rs that made their way past Felbermayr, have now pulled away. The 95 of the 96, Barrault and Delaplace in the 2 CTF Performance cars. They're contesting at the moment 3rd position behind Caragiuli and Melara. And they've got, what is it, about a 3-second gap to close before they can get onto terms with Laurent Melara in the M Racing car, number 69.
Into and out of the sequence of corners at 2, 3 and 4. There's a slight mistake there from Jacopo Faccioni in car 12. Now, does that mean that he's prone for an attack from behind from not only Julien Herrion, but perhaps as well Riccitelli as well? So Henrion out of the left-hander at turn 7 and onto the Mistral straight, not using the chicane this weekend, so prime opportunity. But Henrion's not actually close enough. I think now he's going to be a sitting duck compared to Simone Riccitelli, who had a really good exit out of turn 7, the left-hand kink, and this is Riccitelli showing his nose to the left-hand side, not quite the right side of the track for senior corner, which of course turns right. Those cars aren't quite level, and Henrion has done a good job there defending when he knew he was up against it. Didn't get a good exit, and it was all because actually of a mistake from the car in front of Jacopo Faccioni. More tyre smoke from car 12.
Yep, and it just stuck to the task in hand, didn't he? There was no tow there available by the look of things. Riccitelli, the car ahead, just stuck to his line. wasn't distracted by the jigging about of the Riccitelli car behind. They come back in order restored. Number 3 car looking racy though, but it's dropped back through all of that shenanigans down the Mistral Straight. Here comes the pack. This is now the 2nd, 3rd and 4th place cars, and they've closed that gap and closed it quickly to 2nd place, Johnny.
Yeah, it's really intense there for 2nd place in both classes, actually. And Caragiuli will be grateful to be a little clear of this. But Laurent Millara, running in 2nd position, cannot take the fight to Caragiuli, and having instead to very much keep the eyes on the door mirrors, because 2 CTF performance cars are approaching and at pace. Nicolas Barrault in the first one, he won't get out of the car during the pit stop, and Fabien Delaplace, who will, 4th position in JS2R.
This group of 3 JSP4s has closed up again as we get that back down to the Mistral Straight. Not quite close enough, but this time it is the 2nd place car that's under pressure from the Virage car. But again, Riccitelli gets a better run through turns 4, 5, 6 and 7. Don't think they're close enough here to be looking for a way to drag past. They're racing well, these cars. That 2nd place battle though in JS2R is going to be one to watch, Johnny. So it does look to me that Laurent Millara is struggling just a little at the moment.
By the way, behind this trio fighting for 2nd position in JSP4, you've got Ronnie Valori, who shares the 23 Monza garage car with George King, so Italian and Great Britain combination. And then a bit further back, we've talked about Nathan Biel moving from JS2R to JSP4 for 2022. He's running in 6th place in a relatively lonely spot for the M Racing machine as well. So Valori and Biel won't take too much to draw them together. In fact, they're looking closer in the background there on the exit of the Double Droite de Beausset.
He's a great example, isn't he, of the way that this pyramid system is working. One of a number of drivers that we saw into JS2Rs in the first 2 seasons of the Ligier European Series that have gone on to do bigger and better things. Lots of stories there, including Mathieu Martin, a previous race winner, who is the Porsche Carrera Cup France Junior driver nominee this year. He's racing elsewhere in Nogaro this weekend.
But it provides, clearly, a great talent pool for big manufacturers who are keeping an eye on, getting talent before anybody else discovers it. And this is a hotbed of such talent. Jacopo Faccioni has massively flat-spotted that front right now. He did it maybe 2 laps ago at this corner, and Henrion, there's contact because Faccioni was struggling to stop the car, but Henrion was not fully alongside when he went for that manoeuvre. So as he tried to slide the car up the inside of turn 5, contact was made. Henrion's got away with it in terms of the aesthetics of the car, but I'm sure race control will be looking at that again.
Yeah, it didn't look like it almost looked inevitable that was going to happen, but there was no way through there. Faccioni has gathered it back up and is back on track, but has lost at least those 2 places. In fact, significantly more than that, dropped right back down. He's I think he's back through, where is he? 8th place now.
I think if Géliat had waited a few more corners, i.e. through 6 and 7, he might have been able to pick him off on the straight. But Faccioni struggling first of all into Virage L'Hôtel initially at 3, and then at 5 he was slowing more significantly than Henrion was expecting. However, it is always, in my book, the fault of the guy behind, because there was no gap there. And a similar situation near carbon copy, Graham.
Absolutely.
And that's the 2nd place battle in JS2R coming to a head with a spin for Laurent Millara, but he was given more than a helping hand by the first CTF performance car. I think Barrault, it was the orange car, was it not?
It was, I think, the orange car that made contact. The black car going wide and taking advantage. Watching again here. Yeah, carbon copy. Carbon copy. The only difference between those 2, it was but here's the other thing.
Good reactive driving from Delaplace, although he was off the road when he overtook, but he had nowhere else to go.
But he didn't, but that is taking advantage. He's taking a place off the track. Now, it might be interesting to see how race control see that one. The only difference, by the way, between those 2 incidents, other than the fact that it was in the 2 different classes, very clear Faccioni is struggling with braking.
Yes.
Because it was, again, smoke pouring from that front right wheel.
Well, the initial issue was him being maybe a bit too hard-footed on the brake pedal, which created the flat spot. And then ever since then, that front right tyre has been finding exactly the same point of the Michelin rubber and making it worse and worse.
Yeah.
And the amount of tyre smoke pouring off just prior to the latest incident was significant. So they might have to call that car in ahead of the pit stop window opening, which, as I say, is 27 minutes into this race. We have had just over 15 of those minutes.
Dimitri Gilbert, we should say, as we watch this, is now the second and third place cars, CTF Performance. We've got yellow flags out. And where is that? We'll wait for that one. CTF Performance holding places 2 and 3 now, but this battle, which was 3-car battle, now a 2-car battle, but Riccitelli is still pushing hard, trying to find a way past the Team Virage car. His father Luca in charge of this team, and a long time, mainly GT racer back in the day. Another second generation racing family, as indeed, by the way, are Pegasus Racing, with father and son involved in the management of that team. It's the son, though, Julien Schell, the Pegasus, that is the team principal. He has prior history here in the Ligier European Series, and watching there in the background is someone having a bit of a wild run there. That, I think, is the number 5 car, the smart driving car. This is the all Romanian team, is it not?
Yes, it is. It had to be a single-digit number, because I spotted that. So either 4 or 5. It wasn't the blue of Cool Racing, so I think you're spot on there with the smart driving car. And opening stint for car 5 is being done by Bogdan Dobranici, who is of Romania. In fact, all the drivers in the smart driving squad are of Romania.
That is a lap being put on the second of the smart driving cars. That's a mark of the pace at the moment. Caragiuli in the RLR M Sport car. It's some debut for him and some debut for RLR in the Ligier European Series. 2 cars, as we said, for that squad. LMP3 cars in the other 2 series we will see later this weekend on the other streams. So they've had a JS2R ready to go, and happily found takers for not 1 but 2 of them.
8 laps done, a lead of 7.5 seconds now for Dimitri Gilbert in JSP4 from Julien Henrion and Simone Riccitelli. Basically, they are attached, these 2 cars, on the run up the hill and into Senior Corner. There's a bigger gap back to Ronnie Valori, and if you're wondering where Jacopo Faccioni fed back into the sequence after that contact and spin, 5th place for HP Racing by Euro International. So Faccioni has a stronger car than a 5th place at the moment. So place change there, no, but for some reason Riccitelli slightly slower through Beausset that time compared to Henrion. And Henrion well up the curb there in the Virage colours, but recovers that moment. So Faccioni, as I say, yeah, the single lap speed in qualifying good enough to put him probably 3rd or 4th, but the tyre issue on the front right going to slow him down, and we'll have to now keep an eye on Nathan Biel to see whether he can work his way into a position to overtake Faccioni for 5th.
So Gilbert, we're not seeing that car at the moment. Now 7 seconds to the good, and then it's a further single second between the second and third place cars. This is where the action is at the moment. These 2 CTF Performance cars trying to chase down Caragiuli, but at the moment not as quick as the Kuwaiti driver.
No, and again, Caragiuli, having not experienced these cars previously, amazingly in a position now where he's enjoying I make it 17-second gap between the RLR M Sport car number 75 and the CTF Performance duo. Now, they have been scrapping amongst themselves, which in turn has been slowing one another down, but Fabien Delaplace, Nicolas Barrault really struggling to match the speed of young Haytham Caragiuli.
Yep, this is Dimitri Gilbert, and he, not too much longer before he gets quite significant traffic. Could that start to stem the flow here? So this is some debut from Pegasus Racing, certainly in the JSP4 class, less so sadly for their entry in the JS2R class, which is out of the race after steering rod breakage and off into the gravel. Drivers beginning to start to think about getting ready with the pit stop window opening, and that will be between,
can you remember?
Myself, I can't.
27 and 34 minutes.
There we go.
Yeah, so
and that's a change, isn't it?
It's been extended by a further 60 seconds year on year. So it used to be a 6-minute window at the bottom of the hour, effectively, of the race, between 27 and 33, 32, 59 and 9999 seconds. They've added an extra minute onto that,
to allow the multi-car teams to get a more orderly pit stop process underway, which is again very smart. There's been some really smart changes in the way that this series has been presented over the last 2-3 years. The big changes this year, of course, that evolution for the cars and the JS2R, we should say. The changes to the evolution there, more power, 30 horsepower, new brake pads for these cars, and an LMP3 rear wing on these cars now. So significantly more rear downforce on the cars. The major change, of course, is, as we said at the top of the show, is the double header of races on the support bill for the Le Mans 24 Hours. And hearing from race organisers, entries about to open for that. And if you've got a JS2R or JSP4 and you fancy a go at that, or indeed if you haven't yet and fancy approaching Ligier, think you're going to have to get your skates on, because I think we're going to see more than double the number we've got here, well into the 40s of cars across both classes for those two races on the bill. The second of which I'm pretty certain is on race morning for the Le Mans 24 Hours.
I was going to say, I think the calendar, or rather schedule for race week, a little fluid at the moment. But yes, at this stage, the plan is to do race 1 on the Friday, race 2 on Saturday morning. So think of the audience merely on site to be enjoying that. And yes, we hope to be able to confirm the exact times for those races, and indeed the other sessions, and our coverage of those events as well. But it's great to have, you know, this series, this championship. Its intention to get people into motorsport as early as possible with an idea, then to build their career and get them to Le Mans ultimately. For them to be racing on the same day of the big race this year is brilliant work by the series.
Well, I can tell you, for one, a call from, I'm not going to say who, but a well-known name in motorsport, asking on behalf of a gentleman driver, client, friend of theirs, about the ways in which they can get onto racing on track around the full Le Mans circuit. Those opportunities are extremely rare. There's only 2 race meetings in any given year that use the full circuit. That is the Le Mans 24 Hours at support package and the Le Mans Classic. Le Mans Classic used every 2 years. It will be for the next 2 years, filling a gap that was left by the pandemic. But this is going to be a very popular package for 2022, and I'm sure beyond. And 40 plus of these cars will be some contest, Johnny.
Yes, it will. Mightily looking forward to that. But we've got these races and then another round at Imola to get through before we can think about Le Mans. And the gap's coming down. Well, briefly it did, first to second, down to 6 seconds, but it's been extended back out again to 7.4 between Dimitri Gilbert and Julien Onillon. And in the JS2R battle, still got the 2 CTF performance machines nose to tail. Black and white car ahead of orange and black, though, now, with Fabien Delaplace capitalising on the incident that happened at turn 5 after a carbon copy version of it had happened in the JSP4 division. Now, haven't read any more about what is going to be done about those situations. Both involve contact, of course, at turn 5, and the fact that Fabien Delaplace was able to gain 2 places ultimately whilst off the track, although he was presented by a car that was completely sideways in his way, so he will have an argument.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw no further action on that one. It may very well be determined that was exactly the way that it should have actually happened in those circumstances, and that what he was doing was to try to avoid a further collision.
Yes.
But neither would it be a particular surprise if he had to give a place up.
No, true, but and it's easy to do at this moment, but if race control leave it 10-15 minutes, it might be more difficult for Delaplace to do so. Nicolas Barrault, remember having to do both stints in this race. He is still tucked in behind his teammate in 3rd position, but looking to try and make it 2nd as quickly as possible.
Les Pair are beginning to catch are beginning to catch the car ahead. 19 seconds it was, 15 seconds last time around, although oddly enough a further couple of seconds shaved back by Caragiuli. That might have been a poor lap from the Kuwaiti for whatever reason. But this pair, if they're looking to win this race, need to be focusing on that gap as well as the relative positions to each other.
Nothing between them as they reach terminal velocity on the Mistral straight and then align the car as it goes slightly uphill there into the very fast right-hander at Senior Corner. And Delaplace again just faintly putting the nose up the inside, not really a signal of intent, but more to just say to Fabian where his car is. That's Barrault making the move, and it's side by side for second and third in the JSP4 category. Virage under pressure with Julien Orion and Simone Riccitelli trying to squeeze up the inside. He has the Italian tricolore on the top of the dorsal fin of the LR Motorsport car, new team for 2022, and they are nose to tail then working their way through the left-hander on towards Virage du Pont and Virage du Lac, which end the lap. And in another minute's time, just less than 60 seconds, the pit lane window will be open, but not in time for these cars. They'll have to go round one more time if indeed they want to pit at the earliest opportunity. A 7-minute window might even give you 3 choices as to when you pit. The lap immediately after the 27-minute marker, and you might get 2 more depending on where your car is placed at that point. Graham making the point earlier on about the fact that it makes it easier for teams with 2 cars. Now, there's no double stacking here, although no garage is being used. They're operating out of one of the outer paddocks, but they are allowed to bring tyre trolleys to the front of the garages.
Car 95 for the incident at T5 with car 69. Drive-through penalty, car 95 for the incident at T5 with car 69.
So the 95 car, being driven by Nicolas Barrault, will have to serve a penalty. Barrault judged to be at fault. We haven't yet had a decision on the incident, a similar one, in JSP4 though.
Yeah, I can't disagree with Eduardo Freitas on that one. I think it was spot on, and I would be in those circumstances, therefore, surprised to see any further action in terms of overtaking off track. We talk about terminal velocity. I was just doing a little bit of background work here. Close to 160 miles an hour for the JSP4s at the end of the Mistral Straight, and something like 152, 153 for the JS2Rs.
Right.
No mean feat for these cars.
Certainly not.
And particularly with the downforce they've got. I mean, with downforce comes drag. And these things are designed to have downforce rather than to be overly slippery. Those JS2Rs, I have to say, the more you look at them, the closer you look at them, the more handsome a little car they do appear. Traffic here for Engelbert, and it is the second place battle for JS2R. 17 car deals with the 95. 96 will be dispatched, I'm sure, before turn 1.
Now, you are allowed to pit now within the mandatory pit stop window, and I just wondered whether Engelbert's lappery was going to be further complicated because perhaps one of the CTF performance cars wanted to get into the pits at that point. Remember, pit lane entry peels off to driver's right at turn 13, but thankfully both were planning to stay on the track, and Engelbert ran the outside of one, i.e. Barrault, and then was able to pick off the second car, Fabio Delaplace, on the main straight. We do have some pit stop takers though. Jacopo Faccioni to sort out that front right tyre perhaps, and also Ronnie Valori. So the 2 Italians are in for HP Racing and Monza Garage respectively.
And Nathan Biel follows them in from 6th position. So 4th, 5th and 6th all in. The Team Evolution car, Laurent Brunet, is also in from 16th place overall, 7th in JS2R. That is a pit stop, not a drive-through. No McDonald's, pun intended. No, there was. Yeah, let's be honest.
There definitely was, yeah. Laurent Prunet then in to hand over. And we'll also see pit stop. Prunet, by the way, sharing with Alain Grand of Bordeaux. And Also pit stops happening for one of the Le Deuce Arbre cars. So Jacques Nicolet is in, Philippe Hazebrook not having a chance yet. In fact, he has had a chance and he's turned it down. So Hazebrook is across the line and gains some places because of that. He's up to 4th spot now, with many cars in front choosing to make an early-ish pit stop. But remember, from this point now, you've only got another 4 minutes to do it. So I think you will have three bites of the cherry, effectively. You can either do it on this lap or one more. But the danger is, if we get a full course yellow, then all of a sudden that will take you out of the pit stop window. So perhaps better to do it either on your first opportunity or the second.
Caragiuli down the pit lane after an excellent opening stint for the Kuwaiti. His and RLRM Sports' debut in this series.
Faint haze of tyre smoke around certain areas of the pit lane as a couple more cars come in. Team Virage, yeah, and Riccitelli almost making contact in the pit lane as they went for their relevant pit bays. Must be next to one another.
Yeah, really smart looking car, this LR Motorsport car.
Now, it's a relatively sedate pace, this pit stop, because it has to adhere to the minimum pit stop time. So you don't have to do it at breakneck speed, as we will see later on in the weekend in the European Le Mans Series in LMP2, for example. And this provides the opportunity for teams that are maybe less experienced doing live pit stops within a race to make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted.
There is our previous race leader not being scored at the moment in the lead, but I think that's because their pit box is before the line.
Yeah,
therefore
makes sense.
You should see that car emerge before the second and third place cars.
The CTF Performance, what have we got now? With 28 minutes to go, and they'll have just less than 2.5 minutes to get in. So the sensible thing would be to call both cars in at this stage, and they will be pitting next to one another as well. But as I say, not the need to double stack, so it won't be the case that Nicolas Barrault will be delayed by Fabien Deplace. Both cars can be turned around at once, but it's just quite a delicate operation. The hand being held at the 17 crew, and Pegasus Racing's man on not quite the lollipop, but with the hand held there, is whipped out of the way, and Pegasus head back into the race.
Yeah, as do LR, but that's not the gap we had before.
No, and that will be down to driver combination, most likely.
That will be.
Because Anthony Nara has taken over from Dimitri Engelbert. They are a silver-silver combination, whereas LR Motorsport, Riccitelli is a silver, but Nicola Neri, who's just taken over, is a bronze.
And in the background you can see where that gap was, because we saw the Team Virage car moving. In come the two CTF Performance cars.
So more time to be served if you choose a silver-silver driver combination. Bronze-silver, bronze-bronze is a standard pit stop length, if you like, but you have to soak up more seconds if you choose to go the silver-silver route, and that's exactly what 17 are doing. Pegasus Racing. It's an Anthony Nara entered car, in fact. He's down as the competitor, and Dimitri Engelbert bails out with fellow Frenchman taking over. CTF Performance then, busy area of their pit lane. Another 45 seconds to go before the pit stop window is shut. And have we had, therefore, everybody in now to serve at least one stop? No, TM Evolution we're still waiting for. And with that, Freddy Monanto is now in. And is Freddy in the 25 car sharing that machine? He is with Bruno Chaudet. So Chaudet will take that car over for TM. Oh, spin though on the outlap for the number 3 that was running in third position prior to the pit stops. Actually second place for Nicola Neri. And on cooler tyres, he's lost the car on the approach to Beausset. Actually controlled that pretty well. Yeah,
I was about to say he was looking very aggressive in attack. And
pushing for the race lead.
Pretty wild, actually.
It was.
DTF get away. And that is a switch of position between those two cars.
So Anthony Nara will have seen the rather wayward LR Motorsport car in his mirrors, I'm sure. Will have been grateful that no contact was made as Nicola Neri exited stage right at high speed. However, there are dramas for Andrea Dromedari, NHP Racing by Euro International's car. This car's only just been taken over by Dromedari, having been driven expertly well by Jacopo Faccioni, but it was having some tyre issues. So the moment for the number 3 car was at senior corner.
Oh, that's a terrible place there.
Wiggle. There was a huge wiggle, and then you thought he's not going to get that back, and that was the case for Nicola Neri. But thankfully, he didn't go headlong towards the barriers, and the higher friction tarmac did its job well. I'm trying to work out where the HB Racing car has ground to a halt, but Dromedari was out of the car, and I think that spells retirement, sadly, for the Italian crew.
It's somewhere in the 3rd sector, being shown on our screens as around turn 13. That's, of course, previous champion Dromedari. Was he 2020 champion in JSP4? I think he was. It's Faccioni last year, wasn't it?
Yes, with Cicognani, who's not back for 2022. So there are yellow flags at the moment on the run onto the Mistral straight, turns 7 and 8. You won't be able to overtake then in the initial part. To confirm, Andrea Dromedari was the JSP4 champion, by the way.
It's the whole of the Mistral straight is under yellows at the moment, so...
Okay.
There were certainly yellow flags being shown at the entry to scene corner as well.
Yeah, double yellow at 7, which I thought was the king onto the Mistral, and 8 is still senior, so it's a long section. Now, whether there's a gap in between, of course, between the 2 double yellow sections is a possibility.
Car number 3, which is Nicola Neri, is being told to respect track limits at turn 8. Well, that presumably means that he's had one crack there. There's a Virage car looking to the outside here. This is for 2nd place overall, Johnny.
Yes, it is. And is there a way through? No, because they're going to have to lap a JSP4, JS2R, I should say, at the same time, and maybe go either side of it. They think better of that. So 16 does get ahead, though, and Julien Henriot has managed to squeeze ahead of Nicola Neri, who was a little bit in 2 minds in amongst the traffic, and Henriot, his mind is well tuned into this race, of course, whereas Nicola Neri is the new driver to the LR Motorsport car and just getting into the pattern of play.
We've also seen, by the way, a change in the JS2R for the lead, because the 96 car has gone through, take the lead from the RLRM Sport number 75 car. Still being shown, by the way, with Caragiuli at the wheel.
Yeah, I think that is correct. Caragiuli, was he not entered as a lone driver?
Quite right.
Squealer tyres for the 17, and that is at turn 5 for Pegasus Racing, and Anthony Nara leading the race, remember, but Julien Henriot is closing in the yellow and orange of Polish crew Team Virage, although an awful lot of Spanish staff associated with that team, and they are on probably triple duty this weekend with cars certainly in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, and I think the ELMS as well. Now, almost side by side in JS2R, and
that's the lead. That's the lead battle.
And scrap. Was there a change of position? No, not yet. But Haytham Caragiuli, I think, having to pay for the fact that he is a silver-rated driver, and he's lost time in the pit stop relative to the 96 of Laurent Piquet.
It was something like 16, 18 seconds, but he's made that made the gap up back on track and has retaken the lead now, and is beginning to inflict his will on this race. This is the lead battle for JSP4, right behind the lead battle for JS2R. This could be interesting moments in the next lap or so as these two catch the JS2R leading pair. And it's the Team Virage car, Johnny, that is now all over the back of the race-leading Pegasus Racing 17 car. Looks around the outside again.
And up the inside of Virage du Lac, that's a cracking manoeuvre. Real classic Le Castellet overtake from a long way back. Julien Henriot winding back the years, really, for his tender age, 19 years old. Across the line he will go, and ahead of Anthony Nara. So we've had 2 overtakes in each of the classes there. Haytham Caragiuli, because he had to spend that longer time in the pit lane, he's a lone driver in 75 and silver compared to the 2 in the CTF performance cars, who are both bronze. So the switch around during the pit stop, but Haytham Caragiuli has now corrected the balance.
Oh, big wiggle there from the second place car. Did very well to keep it under control. Big wiggle under braking, still hasn't really got it gathered up and still doesn't look right. There's something gone wrong with that car. Has he got a puncture?
Power off the corner looks okay at turns 4, or out of 5, and now through 6 and 7. Slower car to deal with, which is one of the 2 CTF Performance JS2Rs. The Virage car goes to its left. And
Caragiuli getting away there.
yes, he is, 75 in the Knight Rider-esque livery for the 75. Just need that red LED light switching from left to right.
Oh, that'd be good. I'll have to have a chat with him about that.
Maybe. I think Hayton would be game. Down into turn 5 then. That was the wayward moment, wasn't it, for 17, as you said?
He had more than one. He had one leading up to that as well. 2 or 3, in fact, as they came through that little section.
Seems to be back on the straight and narrow now.
Weird. But just give himself 2 or 3 moments, whether that was self-inflicted or not. Maybe see the next time these cars come around. Now we've got the leaders in both classes together. The Virage car looking to get neat and tidily past Caragiuli, and I think he's going to do that as they come on to the start-finish straight. Not giving up the fight, the 17 car. Yeah, that move has been done before we get back to the pit straight.
Caragiuli around the outside of a slower JS2R as well. Careful not to make contact there, which he has avoided, and he very gentlemanly now gets off the racing line for the 17 to get through, if indeed Anthony Nara is going to be close enough before they reach turn 1. The superior straight line speed might allow that to happen. Haytham Caragiuli having to be wise to the left-hand door mirror. And no, doesn't quite get through. Both still on track though. And Anthony Nara waiting perhaps then until they get to Virage L'Hotel, which is the next right-hander.
This is Nicola Neri, who is under pressure now from George King in the Monza garage car. This is the fight for the final podium position. King is going to go through there.
We caught a bit of curb though, which has unsettled the car. Might provide the chance for Nicola Neri to jump back in front, but no, stabilised that well, did George King. He's been racing GT4 BMWs in the last couple of years. I don't think he's raced prototypes before though, so this will have been quite a learning weekend for him in the 23, and he's up to 3rd spot. Again,
I'm sure another driver that's looking up that pyramid. These little JSP 4s based on the same chassis as the JSP 320, the LMP3 offering from Ligier, with a different powertrain of course, and different aerodynamics. But the basis of it has got some heritage in international sports car racing. By far the most successful LMP3 chassis in the world. It's going to be a 2-second stop-go penalty for George King. For George King, so that's going to cost him, not respecting the minimum pit stop time.
So that won't, in fairness to him, have been his error, but they are a silver-silver combination, George King and Ronnie Valori. Presumably he was waited for the instruction from the team. Meanwhile,
spinning in the background there, it looks, I think, turn 10.
Yeah, so yellow flags are being shown. I didn't see it.
Yeah,
was it a JSP4 or a JS2R?
I just saw a dark shape of a car in the background. I think it was JS2R.
All right, so looking out for longer sector times there. The CTF Performance car being overtaken.
Oh no, it was the CTF Performance car, the 96 car.
So Laurent Piquet, just getting out of the way in time for the next JS2R to squeeze through as well. Thankfully contact was avoided, but a big delay for Laurent Piquet, fellow bronze racing with Fabien Delaplace. There's going to be a 5-second stop and go penalty now for car 53, which runs in the JSP4 division, and that was presumably for the incident at turn 5.
And not respecting minimum pit stop time.
Oh, was it? Okay.
And a further 7-second stop and go for the 69 for the same thing.
Oh dear. Okay,
so lots, I'm afraid, are falling over themselves. That's the M Racing car running in second for Laura Millara.
I said about turn 5 because I don't think we've yet had a decision about the initial contact in the prototype class at turn 5. That happened a good period of time ago now, but clearly race control right in the thick of dealing with the pit stop reference time grievances, the breaches of those rules, and that's the reason why we've got different figures. So we've had a 2-second penalty, a 5-second penalty, a 7-second penalty. They amount to the amount of time basically that they were short by.
Correct.
But it's more costly than that because you've got to come into the pit lane, get to a halt, and then drive away and not exceed the pit lane limit of, it'll be 60 kph.
And two of those cars, by the way, that have got those penalties are currently in podium positions.
Yeah.
It is George King who's currently in the final podium position in JSP4, and it is Laurent Millara who is in second position at the moment in JS2R. There's been a wayward moment there for, is that the 17 car?
I think it looks very much like it. Anthony Nara, who was in second place and trying to catch up with Julien Henriot. Now, has Nara lost positions? George King was only 1.8 seconds behind, and George King went through.
There's at least two cars have gone through because George King was under pressure. There's one, two cars there.
And they were jostling for spots as well. That was LR Motorsport and M Racing, so Nicolas Neri and Nathan Biel, and the 17's off again. This is at Virage du Lac, so I don't think the 17 was trying to get into the pit lane. Meanwhile, the Monza garage car of George King will come in to serve his 2-second penalty. We haven't yet seen any movement regarding the 53 and the 69. It's now side by side in JS2R, coming out of the final corner though. But 95 on the right.
This is for third, but it's going to be for second when that 69 car takes its penalty.
Yes.
So this is for both for podium positions. Second and third, from pit lane comes George King, and he's going to filter back in, I think, in fifth position.
So that was the shortest of the three pit stop penalties that would have been dished out in quick succession. 2 seconds dealt with, let's hope so anyway. And that's served down with the team rather than a separate penalty box.
And from a couple of years ago, the pit entry here, different than it used to be. It's not on the start-finish straight anymore. It is actually as they come through turn 13. So it's a quite long and fairly involved pit entry here.
Yeah.
It's no small penalty to begin a stop and go or a drive-through at Paul Ricard nowadays.
On the bottom of your screen a couple of moments ago, that was just purely a reminder of a 5-second penalty for car 53 rather than an additional 5 seconds. That's how I read it anyway.
Yeah,
car 95 having to respect the track limits, mainly at senior corner. Well, yes, the car's always wanting to leave the road there on the exit, but Nicolas Barrault keeping his head down to try to match the pace of Laurent Piquet. And Piquet in the wheel tracks of the bright orange car. Again, another machine in the CTF style of livery, but just the orange detailing around the nose and the door mirrors, mainly black and white for that car. They are teammates though, so they'll want to avoid taking chunks out of each other. Yeah,
Nicolas Barrault being warned about track limits at turn 8. They're going to have to watch that. Still 13 minutes to go and still plenty of opportunities to fall foul of potentially another penalty. So it's all gone quiet for the moment. Not seen those penalty stops taken by the two JS2Rs though.
No, 53 and 69. Are they being contested perhaps? Well, the 53 Nathan Biel car running in second place. He won't want to give that up lightly, but we'll have, is it 3 or 5 laps to serve that penalty and it to remain legal. And Nathan Biel nearly 21 seconds adrift of Julien Henriot. This car now on the Mistral straight in perfect isolation because Julien has nobody in front, nobody behind. And now we're hearing about an issue for car 50. 5-0. It'll be a 10-second penalty added because of a false start and wrong position on the grid.
Less of an issue for that car, although it's a marginally embarrassing mistake for them to make. 50, by the way, for 50 years of Labre competition.
Yes.
For that car. But yeah, they are running last of the runners in JSP4 and will not lose an overall race position even with that 10 seconds. This run though from the 16 car, very impressive indeed from Julien Henriot. Had to take the lead and has pulled away as others have faltered. A full 21 seconds to the good now. It's been a very good second stint from Team Virage.
False start and wrong position, I always was taught that they're the same thing. You can have a jump start where you go before the lights, but I think basically the car was just not in the right position.
Correct. Where
it should be from qualifying. So that's a fairly hefty penalty, 10 seconds when you add it together with the length of time it takes to come in and out of the pit lane. Meanwhile, a recovering Anthony Nara, who is now 4th, by the way, 2 spins on the same lap, which saw him tumble from second. And now ahead of George King, in the 23, this car. George King with company because he's just lapped 2 of the JS2Rs. And that is the fight for second position between Laurent Millara and Nicolas Béraud.
Yeah, George King is going to struggle to get back now onto a podium position, back in 5th place. And he is, what is that, 20 seconds off third. Not a good position to be in, having run that car as high as second before that penalty for too short a pit stop.
One of the rear light clusters not working correctly on the 95, but I think that's absolutely fine. The officials won't be too unhappy about that. There's a slower JS2R to nip by in a moment or two. That's one of the Romanian cars of smart driving and being driven by Ovidui Zabeka, silver rated Zabeka, having taken over from Dobranici from the opening stint.
We've not seen a 53 car down pit lane, and we've not seen the 69 car either for these penalties. Those penalties have been removed from the screens in front of us. Whether or not that indicates that they've been withdrawn under appeal,
or whether the discussion is still being had exactly at this moment. I suppose there's always the option to bolt it onto the race time at the end of the race, but there'll be need to be added some time as well. The time it takes to get into the pits, as we've been mentioning through the course of the event. Yeah, one car very quick to react, that of George King for Monza Garage, and the other two not so much. Side by side for second and third now in JS2R. Just under 10 minutes to go, plus the extra lap. But this is a good little run that Nicolas Béraud has got on Laurent Millara. Orange car on the inside, has the perfect racing line for senior corner, and that's a neat and tidy overtake for Nicolas Béraud.
Yep, and closing too is the number 95 car, so with or without the penalty that we believe is in place for the 69 car, it's going to be a stop and go for the 69. Looks as if, to me, as if the position is in trouble here. This is the 53 car taking that penalty.
Yeah.
So let's see where Nathan Biel. He's certainly fallen off a podium position. I don't think George King is quite close enough to take. Where is George at the moment?
Just gone through a split, 10 seconds behind.
Yeah.
Certainly Anthony Nara, Nathan Biel. Oh, here comes the 69 car
so
as well.
That's the last of our penalised cars.
That's
so we will be finishing this race with everything but the 10 seconds to be added for the number 50 car served.
And sadly, for both M Racing cars, they're having to put in some late pit lane work, therefore, some administration, if you like, to slow these cars down.
George King has gone through, by the way.
So gains the place to 4th position then.
So we can now start talking about that car. He is closing in, you know, on Anthony Nara, and doing so quite quickly. So, having said what feels like 30 seconds ago, George King might well struggle to get to podium position. Keeps up this pace, certainly in terms of the comparative pace with the 3rd place Pegasus Racing car. The Monza Garage car might well be heading for a podium finish.
Yeah.
This, though, has been a supreme performance in JS2R from Haytham Karagiuli.
Well, he looks like he's been racing these cars for several years.
Doesn't he?
And this is his first meeting in Ligier European Series.
17 seconds to the good now. And that, remember, is after having served a longer pit stop.
Yes.
So he had something like this kind of gap, lost all of that and more to the pit stop penalty for a silver driver running the full race distance, has gathered that back and has opened out the gap again.
So impressive, having to do it the hard way, if you like, but it's been in the bag for a number of laps now. Of course, commentators' curse might creep in yet, but the cars look so stable in his hands. I sincerely doubt that. M Racing now under pressure. Laurent Millara, of course, having just served that additional pit stop. I hadn't twigged when the penalties were first dished out that two of those cars were from the same team.
Yep.
Is there a stopwatch issue there? Maybe battery replacement needed for the second race today. But both them racing cars delayed because of that. Very sideways indeed for the Horst Felix Felbermayr car. That's been changed. No, it's still Horst Felix, I beg your pardon, driving. And he gets the place as well, Graham.
Yeah, well, frankly, he did well to keep the car on the track, let alone use that move to pass for a challenge here. So how far back is Horst Felix Felbermayr from? I know he's a way back from the podium challenge, but he's going to come into fourth place now. With all of that, Johnny, it might be worth reminding everybody just exactly where we are in those podium positions. Team Virage with Gilles Henrion with 5.5 minutes to go leads now by 35 seconds from Nicolas Neri in the LR Motorsport car. Anthony Nara 8.8 seconds back, but is being caught by George King. With 5 minutes to go, he's 4 seconds back and is 5 seconds a lap quicker. In the JS2R class, this class we're looking at here, this is the fourth place battle, but RLRM Sports Kuwaiti driver Haytham Karajouli, 18 seconds to good now from Nicolas Barrault in the first of two CTF performance cars. The 95 ahead of the 96. They're separated by about 9 seconds and look pretty secure with this car, the 40. Next up, the RLRM Sport car in the wonderful Felbermayr colours. Fourth place, but nearly 30 seconds back off that battle, and there are 4.5 minutes remaining.
So Horst Felix Felbermayr puts the pedal to the metal once again through turn 7. He will go and onto the very quick Mistral straight with still in tow Laurent Millara, Bruno Chaudet for TM Evolution. Their two cars have found one another on the screen, running 6th and 7th in class. Remember, we will be going round one more time once the clock reaches 0 as well, which is, from a team's perspective, slightly easier, therefore, to map their way to the end of the race. As now a late lunge up the inside, perhaps for George King on Anthony Nara at turn 1, and gets it as long as he can keep the car on the road, and he does so. Nice bit of curve taken there, but not in excess. And the British driver making the podium, it would look like.
Yeah, pretty impressive debut, isn't it? Prototypes George King. He's lost out with that pit stop penalty. You do wonder what he might have been able to do about second place. I think he'd have been, well, he would have been in second place. There's no doubt he would have been in second place without the penalty. And this could be an interesting team to watch through this season. Another race to go this weekend, in fact today.
Guys from Monza Garage have good form in this series from last year, and George King and Ronnie Valori, they may well have picked some quality drivers there as well, both silver, so they have to take longer during their pit stop, as others have done, of course, in that situation.
Anthony Nara is going to be under pressure before the end of this race, because closing fast is Nathan Biel in 5th place. You can see the green colours around the nose cone of the car approaching. None of them are going to be a threat to this car, though. 16 car, pretty imperious since it took the lead, Johnny.
Yeah, Julien Henrion, again, doing a Haytham Karajouli, if you like, new to the series, but showing that he's got, well, talent in spades and the ability to adapt as well to prototype machinery. So you may well be witnessing the birth of a long sports car career here in Julien Henrion, leading by over 41 seconds now back to Nicolas Neri and George King, who's just squeezed onto the podium with 2 and a bit minutes to go plus the extra lap. I think that's a bit too much to ask for George King to close in on Nicolas Neri, although he is significantly faster per lap than the Italian in front for LR Motorsport, but there is a gap of 7.5 seconds to try and find.
Yeah, good to see some of the new names, new faces in the Ligier European Series coming to the fore this early. There's others that are showing encouraging form, including Felbermayr the younger, Horst Felix Felbermayr, holding off Laurent Millara, and Millara, a man with no little experience in these cars.
Millara will have to be wise to the fact that the overall leader will want to get by in the next couple of corners. Can he fashion that into an opportunity to get back in front of Horst Felix Felbermayr? The gap is only 2 car lengths, probably, between the 4th and 5th places in JS2R. This is just off the podium, which at the moment contain Kuwaiti driver Haytham Karajouli, Nicolas Barrault of CTF Performance, and Laurent Piquet of the same team from France.
Don't think second place, overall is secure yet for Nicolas Neri. George King is herring up towards the back of the second place car.
4 seconds a lap,
he is.
Just about.
There's at least 2 laps, including the one that we're on, to go for that. So it's going to be a fight to the finish for second place overall. Some fight back from George King.
Yeah, very impressive. 6 seconds he now has to find. He is, last time around, he was 3.1 seconds faster than the car he's chasing, Nicolas Neri. And the gap between Anthony Nara and Nathan Biel, perhaps one to watch as well.
Yeah, this one has closed up dramatically since the position was lost, the 17 to George King. Dropping back into the clutches of Nathan Biel, who himself, by the way, has been caught by Steve Zacchia. I think Zacchia is a little too far back. Through goes the 53. That is for 4th position.
Great manoeuvre again. High and wide through Virage du Pont, and then at the last minute, dive to the apex at Virage du Lac, the right-hander, and out of the corner to take the place.
Clock is expired. We wait for the leader to complete this lap. That is the 16 car coming through Scene Corner at the moment. So it's this lap plus one more. And in that time, George King for second place has got 4.3 seconds to find. There's plenty of other battles going to the flag here. Not necessarily all for podium positions, but I think we're going to see some positional change here. It's another cracking battle. Malara battling away again with Horst Felix Felbermayr. It's car 69 though. Malara is under investigation for multiple track limits. Sort of feeling that might end up with a penalty for Malara. So no checkered flag this time. One more lap. This will be going on to the final lap for the race leader, Johnny.
Yeah, it's all mapped from the overall race leader. So Julien Henrion now classified as going on to his final lap, and therefore the race's final lap. And got a bit of traffic in front of him as well to have to think about, which might provide a distraction. Over the line will go the 40 car of Horst Felix Felbermayr ahead of Laurent Millara, but not by much. These two cars exchange positions 3 or 4 laps ago, and it could yet happen the same in reverse. George King's now only 3.6 seconds away from Nicolas Neri for second position in JSP4. We've got a couple of fights here that are not yet done on the final lap.
It will be a final lap battle for second position. They're crossing the line just about now. What is the gap over the line? It's going to be 2.5 seconds for second place. This is that battle. And that battle, that gap has come down and down and down. This is going to be very marginal indeed. Remember, he's not just got to catch him, he's got to pass him. But George King looking very racy and pushing clearly very hard indeed.
The one fly in the ointment for Nicolas Neri might actually be the 25 car, which is up the road of Bruno Chaudet. Chaudet 6th in JS2R, but they are both going to have to lap the 25 car, probably somewhere on the Mistral Straight. So should be easily done, actually, from Nicolas Neri's point of view. I've completely lost Laurent Millara there briefly because he's in the silhouette of Horst Felix Felbermayr. He is still there, though, in the darker blue of the two cars. Yellow door mirrors for Horst Felix, orange door mirrors for Laurent Millara doing the chasing, and he's really close indeed at the double droite de Beausset. Meanwhile, very close indeed to the 95 car for the overall race leader. 95 limping its way towards the end of the race.
I think he's had a spin. I think he's spun.
May well being recovered, that situation. But Julien Henrion will become our first race winner of the brand new season for the Ligier European Series. It's a first ever race for Julien Henrion in this particular championship, and he has started it the way he means to go on, with Julien Henrion our first race winner for 2022.
And Horst Felix Felbermayr has gone through into third position with that trouble and has taken that position. He's on the podium. with the trouble right at the end of the race, the 95 car, waiting now to see what happens with the number 3, the 23. It's going to go almost to the line, this, and there's still a car in front of them.
Nicola Neri then heading, they still haven't got ahead of the 25, unbelievably. So focused presumably on each other. So Virage du Lac and Nicola Neri just a little bit half-hearted there. Behind is the 23 car. Can he pounce George King? I think he's just going to run out of road. There will be nose to tail as they come out of the final corner and across the line. And George King, did he get it? No, just behind by 0.149 of a second. Nicola Neri pips him to second spot for LR Motorsport.
And what didn't help the battle was the yellow flag zone for the 95 car. That, I think, might have cost him the opportunity for the win.
Yep.
But that was some chase at the end from George King. Remember, sat second, had to serve a pit stop penalty. Their bitter goal, isn't it, for the number 95 car. Very late trouble for the ZTF Performance car. They're running the top 3 all afternoon.
Yeah, a horrible situation. These are by no means the longest races that we're going to have this weekend. As now across the line will go Haytham Caragiuli for RLR Motorsport, and Haytham Caragiuli on his debut in the Ligier European Series begins season 2022 with a victory. And a dominant drive for the Kuwaiti as well. Had something like a 17-second advantage by the point of the pit stop, just shy of 30 minutes into the race. Emerged behind a new leader in JS2R because of the way the pit stop reference times worked. So Caragiuli had to do some overtaking to find his way to the front again, and built a lead by the end of it, well, by a lap. The time,
well, 96,
by a minute.
96 has not yet finished the race.
No, that's a good point, yes.
Wondering just exactly how he's managed to build up that big a gap. It was something like 17, 18 seconds. Where did that time come from? Or is that just where the 96 was in relation to the leader? About to come across the line in just a few seconds' time. It's because he's behind the leader. I think he was overtaken by the leader.
Yes, maybe.
So there was a 16 coming onto pit road. 96, meanwhile, will cross the line now. And that lead gap, I think, is well over a minute.
It was 1 minute and 8 through the last split, but remember, of course, we were mapping that to 95 that had the dramas a couple of laps from the finish. It was a 17-18 second gap back to Nicolas Barrault, who didn't make the finish, so won't be classified.
I'm just trying to work this one through, Johnny. ZTF Performance's number 96 car has finished the race in pit lane.
Did he actually drive into pit lane?
Yes, he did.
Under his own steam, so he got the car
the
started.
96 car, the second place car has gone into pit lane.
Ah, yes. Okay,
I'm hoping that's not a bit of confusion.
Indeed. Anyway, highlights, there were many of them, and a 65-minute race has rather passed us by like it was 10 minutes. Julien Henrion having to dart from one side of the road to the other and being put under early pressure from Dimitri Engelbert as they ran into turn 1. But the one the car they didn't expect to see was Jacopo Faccioni for Monza Garage, who squeezed ahead, or rather for HB Racing, by Euro International. All sorts of chaos behind, which I think we missed in real time, but 3 cars facing the wrong way at turn 1, side by side between Dimitri Engelbert and Henrion, then on the run down towards Virage du L'Hôtel, and then Engelbert got ahead of Jacopo Faccioni in his hard charging number 12. The battling in the JS2R category was equally as frantic, and the 95 of Fabien Delaplace, or rather Nicolas Barrault, fighting with his teammate Delaplace in the 96 car, got the better of the 40 Horst Felix Felbermayr. Then Julien Henrion misjudging this incident. Now, Jacopo Faccioni was struggling on a set of Michelin tyres that he'd flat spotted, but the pit stops began in anger just beyond the 27-minute marker of the race. Plenty flooding in early doors, but some others leaving it a little later. Henrion having to get the race lead the hard way around the outside of Virage du Lac at turn 13, and Virage du Pont brought them onto the main straight with the new race leader in the hands of Team Virage. There were then penalties dished out for breaching the pit stop reference time. And remember, that has to be looked after by the teams personally rather than an official down in pit lane. Again, side-by-side action between Henrion and the new driver into car 17, who was Anthony Nara. A late-ish spin for the 96 as well from CTF Performance. Bizarrely, both cars from CTF Performance driving into the pit lane right at the end of the race. Now, that's understandable for 95, but quite why the 96 did so, we don't know. But neither will be classified with a finish, we are now just hearing. So a strange old end for the French squad, CTF Performance, a mistake that maybe they will only make once. Then the duelling happening between M Racing and Pegasus Racing, and a late dive up the inside for Nathan Biel into 4th spot to get ahead of Anthony Nara. But Julien Henrion, one of 2 debut wins in the Ligier European Series this weekend at Le Castellet. In the colours of Team Virage, it's Julien Henrion. The team celebrating on the pit wall to take a race win by just under 50 seconds. And Haytham Caragiuli for RLR M Sport. It will be a 1-2 finish for the British squad, with Horst Felix Felbermayr finishing in 2nd place. So much changing after the flag there in the race result. 30 laps. Julien Henrion confirmed as the provisional race winner from LR Motorsport of Italy, and Nicola Neri bringing the race to a close. Monza Garage finishing in 3rd with a great drive from George King ahead of Nathan Biel for M Racing, Anthony Nara for Pegasus, and Steve Zacchia, we didn't mention a great deal about in the first of the 2 Les Deux Arbres cars. And then in JS2R, it is a 1-2 finish for RLR M Sport of Haytham Caragiuli and Horst Felbermayr Jr., Felix Felbermayr, I should say, both on solo drives. Then Laurent Millara for M Racing in the 69 car. TM Evolution, both cars making the top 5. Bruno Chaudet and Alain Grand bringing the 25 and the 11 cars home. What a race! Join us later for the second one. So race 2 of the Ligier European Series will be at 3 o'clock local time. There's plenty to unpick though, Graham Goodwin. Just looking at the result of that one.
Absolutely astonishing stuff post-flag. Big mistake there from CTF Performance, throwing away a podium position. Great stuff. We'll see you later today.
Second in this race at Le Castellet, Simone Riccitelli and Nicola Neri from LR Motorsport. And winner of the first race of the season, a round of applause for Gillian Ayon and from Team Garage. Team Virage, sorry. Please listen to the Polish anthem. Please take a place on the first step for the traditional photo, please.
Lock me out of this life institution. I am angry and high on illusions. Yes, I hate, but it's not a solution. Try my best, buddy, I'm just a human. Oh, we don't need to say we're sorry. We don't need to worship heaven's heart. We don't need to say we're sorry. So where's the love? This is all we got. Dreaming about a revolution in our minds. This is all we got. Talking about resolutions, getting high. We don't need a lot, and we don't care if we fuck it up. If it's what we got, then why not give it all we got? I can see in your eyes you're defeated. Try to fool yourself till you believe it. That you're better off not men are feeling. But there's a sky if you jump through the ceiling. Oh, we don't need to say we're sorry. We don't need to worship heaven's heart. We don't need to say we're sorry. So where's the love? This is all we got.
Now let's go for the podium of the GS2R category. Finished third, Laurent Millara from M Racing. Apparently he's not here, he's at the race control. He will get his trophy later. Second of the race in the GS2R category, Horst Philipp Fellmeier from RLR M Sport. And the winner of the race, a good day for RLR M Sport. Please welcome Aikam Karajouli. Please listen to the God Save the Queen. Please go on the first step to take the traditional photo, please. And a round of applause for this T rookie. Laurent, go on the podium, please.
I don't pay no mind. And when it came down, I was looking in your eyes. Suddenly, I could feel it inside. I've got a fever, so can you check? Hand on my phone.
Laurent Millara, third of this race in Le Castellet.
Peut-être qu'avec du temps, ça partira. Et pourtant, je ne m'y vois pas. Comme un médicament, moi je suis rien sans toi. Et je sais que je perds de temps dans tes bras. I've got a fever, so can you check?
Thank you very much. See you this afternoon for race 2.